Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast between Paranoid and NightEnd here on Jungle Basin. Game 5 in a best of 5 series taken from, I believe, the Dragon League. I'm pretty sure that it's a European league that recently came out. At least that is what my friends told, Drool told me. Yeah, so Drool, a friend from Rage Quit TV, I will be dual casting with him tomorrow, December 27th for the Compito Cup. I forget what number it is. Anyways, by the time you're listening to this, most likely it has passed already. So anyways, NightEnd spawning as the blue Protoss player here on the south side of the map. Meanwhile, Paranoid spawning on the north side of the map as the red Zerg. Zerg versus Protoss here on Jungle Basin. Now, interesting, NightEnd now simply opening up with a pylon here, should be getting a forge and then doing an expansion down over here. I'm curious as to how Paranoid will play on Jungle Basin. Jungle Basin, one of those maps where there's just simply a lot of cheese that you really have to try to deal with. There's this area back over here where you can place starports, stargates, in order to do some cheese Void Ray or cheese Banshee play very quick, just being able to move out with those units. We do see the probe now coming into this location here. We'll be able to gain a lot of sight. Paranoid simply not revealing his strategy just quite yet. No spawning pool, no hatchery, and now as soon as that one probe moved away, he laid down an extractor and should be getting a spawning pool in just a moment. There we go. And now kind of feinting that he wants to build a hatchery. So nicely done by Paranoid once again into getting into the mind game of NightEnd, simply getting a pylon there. And now that probe walking up that ramp as that drone trying to get some damage. Now simply going to be able to mine those minerals. And now the probe quickly realizes that he was duped and sees that the extractor has gone up in addition to that spawning pool already in play. That probe wants to try to do a little bit more scouting. The pylon was canceled. And now the probe will just continue to walk around into this location, trying to get as much information, trying to get as much sight. Back over here, we now see the forge has been completed. Gateway now currently being laid down. We should be getting a zealot right there as a photon cannon currently being worked in. And now that probe continuing to wander around on the inside. NightEnd is a little bit behind, not yet getting a pylon. They are currently supply locked for 25 game seconds. Yeah, interesting. If you guys do not already know, pylons and overlords take 25 seconds to build, while supply depots take 30. Back over here, this one drone now making its way to try to catch up to that one probe. Probe able to barely constantly escape, and as that probe does move at the same speed as that drone, so that drone is not really able to catch up all too much. Probe just continuing to wander around. Will be able to say wee all the way home, as NightEnd should be able to train up a zealot and then stop that one drone from ever coming in. But there was also that photon cannon there, so that would have been decent amount of denial as well. Paranoid now moving out with those Zerglings and trying to start softening up these backdoor rocks. That is a very interesting maneuver, as Zerglings only deal 2 damage per peck. So these rocks will have a very long time before they are destroyed. 2 damage, 2 damage divided by 3, what, 700, about 600 game seconds. So that's almost 10 game minutes before these rocks will get taken. Or is it even 10 game minutes? No, I know my math's wrong a little bit, but it will be quite a while before those rocks are going to get taken down, as that probe continues to just wander around, trying to get as much sight as possible. That probe still wandering around over here. We'll be able to see the spawning pool, currently researching that metabolic boost. There is a slight shimmer to the spawning pool as it does that research, and now those Zerglings will be able to catch up to that one probe in just a second. There we go. Metabolic boost getting wings on those Zerglings, and those Zerglings able to take that down. Back over here, the destructible rocks now down to about 1450 hit points, as that Overlord continuing to wander around on the inside of the space, trying to get as much sight as possible. A Stalker quickly wants to be chrono boosted, as it does not want to reveal, or NightEnd does not want to reveal his strategy to Paranoid. And now probes being transferred from the main base to the natural expansion. 8 probes quickly being transferred as that Nexus finishes warping in. And now getting better return per probe, and now that he transfers and no longer is oversaturating or, you know, limiting returns on top of these probes. So Zergling's layer now being trained as well, or morphed into play as well. Hatchery currently spawning larvae, both sides sitting in their bases pretty comfortably. These rocks are getting very low on hit points, and NightEnd has to be suspicious as to how low these hit points on these rocks are currently getting, already down to 500 hit points. And now as more Zerglings come in to join in, one Stalker will be able to start picking apart some of those units here. And now these rocks are nearly destroyed, already down to about 200 hit points here. And now more photon cannons trying to be worked in. probes now trying to come in as well, and these Zerglings are going to simply be able to walk in here, trying to get a lot of damage, now going after many of these photon cannons as they're being warped in. A lot of probes now getting taken down. One Zergling was able to squeeze through somehow, and now continue to deal more and more damage. One set of photon cannons has been completed. Another set should be coming in just a moment, as those Zerglings are now running rampant through the base, and now accidentally running by that photon cannon here, trying to get some damage on these mineral patches. Perhaps we'll be able to get some of these probes as they're running back and forth, and now denying some of these probes here. Probes coming off the mineral line. Stalkers now giving chase once again. Stalkers, however, unable to catch up to these very, very fast caffeine. A Red Bull gives you winged Zerglings as they're continuing to just wander around. Still, one probe down to almost 0 shields, as 2 Zerglings are going to quickly get finished off here, as this one probe tries to take down this one Zergling trying to take down that last probe, unable to, not successful, and now NightEnd has a very, very exposed back door. We now see a couple of Zerglings sitting over here, and more Zerglings continuing the swarm. A Stargate, however, currently being trained as well, but we are getting the Groove Spine, so a lot of Hydralisk play coming in from Paranoid, a unit that you rarely see, and now many of these Zerglings are simply going to be able to swarm around. No, it's simply getting a force field there, so these Zerglings are not going to try to swarm around that one photon cannon. The Sentry is in a weird position as it tries to engage. Are those Zerglings going to be able to deal any damage? Perhaps trying to run up that ramp. There it goes, has been completed, and now we'll be able to simply come into this location here. A lot of Zerglings, 10 Zerglings trying to fight back against multiple probes, and now NightEnd is in trouble once again. NightEnd losing many of his probes as the probes being called off the mineral line in order to save this fight. You can take a look at the harvester count, 32 compared to 36. I guess it isn't as much as I thought, as there are now a lot of probes down in this location over here. 36 drones for Paranoid. Paranoid has not been power droning. However, as I say that, he was training up 8 additional drones, so you're going to see a lot more drones now coming in, and now a bigger economic disparity between Paranoid and NightEnd. 43 compared to 36. NightEnd still chrono boosting, trying to get back into this game economically speaking. Army-wise, you can see both sides sitting on small skeletal armies, just playing a lot of that harassment game, and now we are also getting that Roach Warren. So Roach Warren and Hydra, Roach Hydra coming in, Evolution Chamber also being upgraded as well, as Zerg seems to be getting a lot more options these days into what exactly their strategy is going to be. Both sides also currently supply locked, 76 over 76 compared to 8 or 60 over 60, and now NightEnd finally getting an additional pylon will be able to warp in more units, and this location is very, very much exposed. There is one warp gate here protecting this photon cannon, and all it will take is one sentry dropping a force field and then denying any route of escape. We do see a spore or 2 spore crawlers now being trained up, as well as these phoenixes come in and try to deal more damage. One spore crawler here should be completed, yeah, in about 5 or 6 seconds or so, and now in comes another graviton beam, able to deal a lot of damage. Down goes another one of those queens, as more Hydras are still being hatched. Another Overlord splashes in the air, goes kasplat, and now with one spore crawler in each location, that Phoenix harassment needs to get some more Phoenixes in order to do any serious push. And now in come the Hydralisk, nicely done. Instead of pressing with Zerglings, he pressed with Hydralisk, and those Hydralisks with that range of, I believe, 6. Yes, 6, as we have the Groove Spines able to deal a lot of damage very easily. So we have Hydralisk down here, able to get a lot of damage dealt very quickly, very fast attack speeds, faster than a Marine, without stim pack. So currently sitting on Hydralisk over here. Army-wise, we have 1925 versus 1575. And now still more units being trained, more Zealots also being warped in as well. Phoenix is trying to test the waters, but there are simply so many Hydralisks that those Phoenixes are not going to be able to deal that much damage. Especially, oh, another Sentry now coming in. Are those Phoenixes going to be able to do anything, as those Hydralisks able to pick off one of those Phoenixes? So a Phoenix for a Hydralisk, as more units continue to try to push in. Once again, more force fields coming in, and with no Ultralisk to try to bust down these force fields, the Paranoid has no choice but to just try to sit here and try to win a siege battle. But NightEnd, able to warp in units here, should be able to slowly mass up a large enough army and then be able to split apart this Hydralisk army. Zerg needs to take an additional expansion at some point. There we go, taking an expansion up on that high ground. That is a very, very difficult place for a Zerg player to try to hold on to, as it is very, very much exposed. More Roaches now coming in. The Roaches do not have the movement speed upgrades. Production-wise, we see that it is nearing completion. Only needs about another 22 game seconds or so in order to finish that completion. And now more Phoenixes coming in. Roaches coming in as well. And those Roaches do not have burrowed move. So another Overlord now in the air, perhaps going to try to spawn creep here. If it does spawn creep, it will allow for a slightly faster movement speed on these Hydralisks wherever they are standing on creep. And now those Hydralisks once again on the move. Are those Phoenix, yeah, those sentries being forced to waste all of their energy on force fields that don't really deal prevent anything or deal any damage at all. So there are those Hydralisks with that range of 6, perfect casting time on those force fields. Every 20 game seconds or so, those force fields do flicker and break apart, but the sentries able to continue to drop down more and more force fields. And now in come the roaches. Roaches now trying to move out, and I do not believe the sentries are going to be able to drop in any more force fields as they are now starting to push out once again. Force fields now coming in. Hydralisks in the back of the army, both sides engaging back and forth. There are a lot of Immortals getting picked apart by those Hydralisks, and now the Phoenixes are able to pick up many of those Hydralisks. And now this Hydralisk army and this whole entire aggressive attack force coming in from Paranoid has pretty much been nullified. Army-wise, 675 versus 2150. Production-wise, more Hydralisks being trained, but not nearly as much as what's being trained and what NightEnd has in store for Paranoid. Currently training up about 1,000 minerals worth, 2 Colossus and 2 Phoenixes. Yeah, totaling up to 1,000 or 900 minerals worth of army. So that is going to be very large. 2450 versus 1050. Those Hydralisks do have the level 1 weapons upgrade, and that is it. But we are now going into Mutalisk play. So with five or six Mutalisks currently in play, those Hydralisks need to be able to clean up many of those Phoenixes before those Phoenixes are going to start picking apart those those Mutalisks once again on the move, perhaps trying to clean up this particular expansion. Will it be able to at least take down that probe? No, trying to go down after this pylon here. Sentry is dealing a lot of damage. Down one of those Mutalisks goes. So only 4 Mutalisks left out of that original 5. Hydra is still sitting off into this location, and now both sides running off of 3 bases. Nexus down here, photon cannons guarding this high-end location. We do see a couple roaches as well currently being warped or currently being morphed into play. And as they are trained and as they are hatched, it will be very, very difficult for NightEnd to really try to stop this Roach and Hydralisk army unless he gets enough Colossus. Roach is now trying to once again test the waters, trying to test this front door. Many Mutalisks are in the air. The Mutalisks are perhaps going to try to deal some damage towards those Colossus. Colossus now trying to fight back, trying to get within combat range. There is a force field over here as many of those Mutalisks are now getting taken down, and now Paranoid simply just sacrificing many of his units to those Colossus, unable to get any real damage dealt as those Hydras able to finish off one Colossus, but that is it. Extended thermal lance range has been completed, or will be completed in just a mere seconds, and now the rest of this attack force will be forced to pull back, and now Paranoid in trouble, down to a 1275 army. Income-wise, Paranoid and NightEnd about the same, 62 Harvesters compared to 57, both of them running off of 3 bases, no high-yield mineral locations here, so Paranoid doesn't even have a high-yield mineral location on the center exposed high ground to call his own. We do see a couple of these Immortals trying to engage. Once again, Queen caught in the air, out of position, and now Paranoid is in trouble, especially with this one Colossus in play, just offering up so much damage so quickly, so easily. Phoenixes in the air will be able to finish off many of these drones, many of these Overlords, and with Paranoid not having enough Hydralisks, these Phoenixes are just simply owning the sky and will be able to start supply locking Paranoid. We do see a lot of Phoenixes now coming in. These Corruptors do have a range of 6 and now trying to be pulled back. There we go. 2 additional Corruptors now dealing more damage as well. And now Corruptors trying to fight back, but will not be able to deal all too much damage as those Phoenixes are continuing to clean up the skies, take down the Overlords, and offer sight. Paranoid now trying to take this 3 o'clock location, and now we also see NightEnd trying to take this high ground location on the south side, but it will take a large army of Colossus, Immortals, and Stalkers to clear out this location. Back over here, we have a decent saturation happening at the 9 o'clock position as this Nexus and 2 additional pylons now being warped into play. Army-wise, 2475 versus NightEnd's 5375. NightEnd really all he needs to do is just sit back, relax, enjoy the show. And if this does become a war of attrition, Protoss units are much more durable especially when you're countering Roach and Hydra and have Colossus as support with some Immortals as well. So things are looking very, very strong for NightEnd. Paranoid going to have trouble. Will he be able to fight back? Will he be able to get back into this game as those Colossi able to just simply slice through and deal so much damage? Multiple Roaches just getting torn apart by that extended thermal Lance Rangers. Corruptor's now trying to come in, trying to finish off many of those Colossi. One of the 3 Colossi have been taken down, but I think that's simply going to be too much. No ground army. Corruptor's trying to finish off as soon as I believe he may be able to at least get this last Colossi or Colossus taken down. No, not even that. As 2 more Corruptors now come in, and now Paranoid says GG, and Paranoid loses game 5 in this best of 5 matchup. NightEnd able to take 3 out of the 5 games and barely squeak away with the victory. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this 1v1 replay between Paranoid and NightEnd here on Jungle Basin.